Mr. Daniel Foster had been teaching high school English for nearly 15 years in a quiet suburb outside Denver, Colorado. He prided himself on being witty, quick-tongued, and the kind of teacher who could relate to students through sarcastic humor. Most of the kids either loved it or brushed it off until the day Emma Miller walked into his classroom. Emma was a new transfer student. She was quiet, wore oversized sweaters even in warm weather, and kept her head down most of the time. She was curvier than most girls her age, with dark circles under her eyes and a distant look that made it clear she'd seen more than her 16 years should allow. On her third day, Mr. Foster called on her to read a passage aloud from To Kill a Mockingbird. As she stood up, fumbling nervously with her paper, he smirked and said just loud enough for the class to hear, "Don't worry, Emma. Reading out loud burns calories too." A few kids laughed. Most stayed silent, unsure if they'd heard right. Emma froze. Her cheeks turned crimson, but she said nothing, sat back down, and didn't speak for the rest of class. That night, one of Emma's classmates, Lily, who sat behind her, went home troubled. She told her mom what happened, and her mom, a local social worker, recognized the name, Emma Miller, the girl who had just transferred from a group home in southern Colorado. The girl who, just 6 months ago, had survived a house fire that killed both her parents. The girl who had third-degree burns on her back and legs, hidden beneath those baggy clothes. The girl who had spent 2 years in and out of hospitals, battling both physical scars and the trauma of being in foster care. Word got around. The next morning, the principal called Mr. Foster into her office. With her was Emma's caseworker and a thin file with thick consequences. As they laid out Emma's history, Mr. Foster sat in stunned silence. He couldn't believe the cruelty of his own words. What he had meant as a harmless jab had cut deep into a wound no one could see. Emma didn't return to school for a week. When she did, Mr. Foster asked to speak with her privately. He apologized not just with words, but with tears. He didn't excuse what he said. He didn't expect forgiveness. Emma listened quietly. Then, with more strength than most adults could muster, she looked him in the eye and said, "I've been through worse, but I hope you never make another kid feel the way you made me feel." He never did. Mr. Foster went on to become one of the strongest advocates against bullying in the district. He launched a program for trauma-informed teaching, something their school had never prioritized before. Emma graduated a year later with honors and gave a speech at graduation that left the entire gymnasium in tears. Her final words? "Be kind. Everyone's fighting a battle you can't see." When Emma returned to school the following week, the hallways felt different, quieter. Staring eyes met her from every direction, but no one said a word. Not because they were judging, but because now they knew. Rumors had spread, whispers had traveled, and the image of the new girl had transformed from shy and awkward to survivor. Mr. Foster tried to act normal in class that morning, but his eyes kept drifting toward the back row, where Emma sat with her arms folded tightly across her chest. He had rehearsed 100 times what he'd say to her if he got the chance, but now that she was here, none of those words felt enough. At lunch, she sat alone. Again. But this time, not by choice. She had received 3 anonymous notes in her locker that morning. One said, "Your parents probably died to get away from you." Another simply read, "Freak." The third note was blank, just a single burned match taped to the center of the page. Emma didn't cry. She just stared. The cold returned to her eyes, the kind of cold you can only get after surviving something that breaks you, then tries to do it again. Mr. Foster was in the teacher's lounge when he overheard 2 girls from the cheer squad giggling about how dramatic Burn Girl is. That was the moment something inside him cracked, not out of guilt, but rage. Rage at the students. Rage at himself. Rage at a system that let kids slip through the cracks until they were too shattered to stand back up. He walked straight to the principal's office and slammed the notes onto her desk. "I need to do something," he said, voice shaking. "Not as a teacher, as a man who made a mistake and won't let it happen again." That afternoon, he did something unthinkable. He shared Emma's story with the entire school anonymously at first through a surprise school-wide writing prompt called "What You Don't See." He told them about a girl, orphaned, burned, scarred, surviving each day with the weight of 2 funerals behind her. He didn't name her. He didn't need to. But Emma knew. And so did the kids who wrote those notes. The responses flooded in. Some were shallow. Some were confused. But a few were raw. Real. One boy confessed he'd been homeless for a year. A girl admitted she hadn't eaten lunch at school in 2 months because she couldn't afford it. Another wrote, "I bully people because I hate myself, and I think I just realized that." Emma read them all. She still didn't speak to Mr. Foster. Not yet. But a week later, when someone spilled milk on her sweater in the cafeteria and a boy shouted, "Watch out, she might melt," something unexpected happened. Lily, the girl from before, stood up, dumped her entire tray of food on the boy's head, and said, "Say it again. I dare you." The cafeteria went dead silent. Emma just smiled, not out of joy, but relief. For once, she wasn't fighting alone. But the battle wasn't over. That night, Emma got a text from an unknown number. "You think you're strong? Let's see how strong you are when we post what you're hiding." Attached was a photo. Blurry, grainy, but unmistakable. Emma, in a hospital gown. Her scars, exposed. Emma stared at her screen, hands trembling. She didn't know who took the photo. She didn't know how they got it. But she knew one thing for sure. It was about to get worse before it got better. Emma stared at the message on her phone for what felt like hours. She didn't sleep that night. By morning, the photo had made its way onto a private group chat, one that several students, including popular kids and even athletes, were part of. The image spread like wildfire across social media. Some laughed. Some reacted with disgust. A few even reposted it with hashtags like number, scarred, and scary. But something strange happened. A girl from the junior class posted a reply, a selfie showing her own back, covered in self-harm scars. The caption read, "You're not alone, Emma. You're not disgusting. You're alive." More followed. A boy revealed the scar on his chest from open-heart surgery at age 8. A senior posted a photo from when she lost all her hair during chemo. Soon, the hashtag number Show Your Scars began trending in their school community. And Emma did something no one expected. She asked for the auditorium. With the help of Lily, the principal, and, surprisingly, Mr. Foster, she organized a school assembly. Students were hesitant at first. Some thought it'd be another boring lecture. But when Emma took the stage wearing a simple short-sleeve dress that showed her burn scars in full, no one moved. She looked out at hundreds of faces and said, "For the first time in a long time, I'm not hiding. These scars? They tell a story. One you tried to shame me for. But I survived a fire. What have you survived?" The room went silent. Then someone stood and clapped. Then another, and another, until the entire auditorium was on their feet. The students who had bullied her were later identified. 2 were suspended. 1 issued a public apology. The one who leaked the photo was charged. Turns out they'd hacked into a hospital database using a relative's login. They faced serious consequences. As for Mr. Foster, he didn't just support Emma's voice, he amplified it. He helped launch an annual event called Unseen Battles, where students shared stories, scars, and secrets they'd buried for years. It became a tradition in the district. Emma never asked for revenge. She didn't need it, because she got something better: respect, friendship, and her voice back. The story didn't end with her pain. It ended with her power. And years later, when she gave a TED Talk titled "The Girl They Tried to Shame," she began with the same words she said on that stage in high school. "I survived a fire, and I refuse to burn quietly ever again."